It is the Bobby Moe Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund. I'm Chris Shovlin, the play-by-play voice of Robert Morris University football and basketball. Speaking of football, Taven Harville, who just signed a free agent contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, will be joining us, and we'll be talking to the big boss of the athletic department, Vice President and AD, Chris King, coming up next right here on the Bobby Moe Show, the last one for this season. Stay tuned. This winter, many families in our area are struggling to make ends meet and keep their homes warm. You can make a difference by making a donation to Dollar Energy Fund. Your contribution will be matched dollar for dollar by Dollar Energy Fund's utility partners, and 100% of all donations will be used to help local families maintain or restore basic utility services. No one should have to face a Pittsburgh winter in the cold. Help spread the warmth to your neighbors in need and donate today at dollarenergy.org. You know, when Chris Howard was on campus, he used to go around telling everybody he was the 8th president of Robert Morris University. And that number 8 plays out well for defensive back Taven Harville as well, because Taven, you're the 8th Colonial to sign a contract with an NFL club. First of all, congratulations. And let me ask you if it's hit you yet.
Thank you. First of all, I want to just say thank you. And no, it really haven't hit me yet. It hit me a little bit when I seen the A with me in the Steelers uniform, but it's still the whole thing is just crazy to me for real.
How did this all come about? I mean, were the Steelers on you over the past couple of months? Did you go to a pro camp?
Nah, actually, I had no idea that the Steelers was even I was even gonna go to this. I thought it was gonna be a different team, the teams I was communicating with, and then on the day, the last day of the draft, my agent had called me and said that I was going to mini camp with the Steelers.
That's incredible. I know you're a native of the Detroit, Michigan area. Were the Lions on you at all?
Nah, I ain't hear much from the Lions either.
Well, you know, it's such an incredible moment in one's life when they reach the pentultimate, and that's exactly what the NFL is for a football player like yourself. And your story is kind of unique because you actually came to Robert Morris as a wide receiver, but you're being taken into the NFL as a defensive back. Let's talk about when you first got to Robert Morris and signed on with the offense. And you actually scored a big touchdown against the University of Dayton in one of those games. Well, let's talk about going from offense to defense.
Well, I came in as a receiver, and then the new coaching staff had came in with Coach Clark and stuff. And after that season, Coach Clark asked me if I wanted to switch to defense, and I was like, yeah, why not? And I switched to defense, and I started making a few plays and stuff, and that's just where I found my home at. And we just went from there.
14 receptions, 259 yards, and a touchdown as a true freshman in 2017. The touchdown that I talked about was in your first Division I game. It was a 72-yard strike in your Division I debut in a 13-10 victory over the University of Dayton at Joe Walton Stadium. Take me back to that play. And
I still remember that play. I remember Jimmy Walker was the quarterback at the time, and he gave me the signal to run a fade, and everybody knew I was fast. So I'm like, okay, I'm about to just try to get open fast as I can. And I ran a route, and I looked up, and the ball was right there, and I just had to do the rest, just keep running. Scored the touchdown. I think we ended up winning that game. I think Nick made the field goal for us to win that game.
Yep, 13-10. It was a victory there. And then you switched over to defense. And the thing, it seems to me, you were mentioning how fast you were and had that breakaway speed to get that touchdown. It seems to me the defensive backs have to be faster than the wide receivers to track them down.
Yeah, they do.
Obviously, that switch to defense made sense.
Yeah, it did.
Let's talk about your switch to defense. And, when you first heard from the coaches that they were thinking about putting you on that side of the football, you just mentioned that you welcomed that, but it is a big change. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I played defense and receiver my last year of high school, so it wasn't like nothing I wasn't used to. But I just wanted to do whatever to help the team. Whatever coaches thought was gonna put me in the best situation and stuff like that, I was willing to do. So they wanted help on the back end, I was willing to do it. I switched to safety first when I first got to defense, and then I went to corner the last couple of seasons. So I was just willing to do whatever coaches needed for us to win and help us.
I know in 13 games during the 2021 calendar year that went from the spring and fall seasons, you started every one of Robert Morris's games. You had 36 tackles, 19 solo takedowns,
5 pass breakups, a pair of picks, and you recorded a season-high 6 tackles in a 22-16 win over Howard at home as well. You had interceptions in consecutive road games in North Alabama and Gardner-Webb. And, when I talk about those games that you played in, you had that COVID year where everything was kind of crazy. You didn't know whether you were going to play some weekends. And then finally, you get a real season back together this past season and put a string of great games together. During that time, Robert Morris moved into the Big South Conference. So, if you will, let's talk about the step going from what was the NEC into the Big South and what that meant for you guys.
Yeah, no, just like at the Big South media day, I said once we got into the Big South, we knew the competition level was going to be better. We knew players was going to be better, bigger and stronger, faster. So we knew we had to step it up. Coach always talked about being a leader. So my main thing was like just being a leader to help us be competitive on the next level into that next conference and stuff like that. So I feel like we was able to have some success, but I feel like this year they had to do even better. So we had that stepping stone. So now they go even farther than what we did last season.
Taven Harville is my guest on the Bobby Moe podcast right now. We're talking about the 8th Colonial to make it to an NFL camp. Of course, Taven, I'm just wondering what it's been like since the announcement of your free agent signing by the Steelers. What have they done to welcome you in? What kind of communications have you had, and what's happened since that time last week?
Man, it's been crazy. My phone been going off like crazy. It's a blessing, honestly. The coach has been calling me, texting me and stuff, getting me ready to come down there for rookie mini camp and stuff. I report on the 12th, and then I'll be in there for the 3-day mini camp. So we just got to see what happens when I get there.
You have any idea what number you're going to wear? Have they told you that?
I have no idea.
Whichever one they give you, I take it.
Yeah, I'm taking whichever they give me.
That sounds great. Well, one of the things about you too is, and I know that right after your signing was announced by Pittsburgh, and Coach Clark went absolutely berserk. I mean, he started tweeting out congratulatory messages to you, and then I noticed about half a day later, he said, "You know what? I want to say one more thing. Taven Harville has a bachelor's in communications and a master's in organizational leadership. So you not only did it on the football field, but you did it in the classroom in Moon Township as well."
Yeah, I did. I'm actually coming down to Pittsburgh tomorrow for graduation on Friday. So I'll be there for the master's graduation.
Well, that's great. Congratulations to you, not
Thank
only
you.
On your master's degree, but being signed by our hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that you're a native of Detroit, but you're going to be wearing some black and gold in the very near future. And we just hope the best for you and wish the best for you. And we'll be cheering for you, waving terrible towels for Taven Harville.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, we're going to continue the Bobby Moe Show coming up in just a little bit. Again, we remind you the Bobby Moe Show is brought to you by Dollar Energy Fund here on the RMU Athletics Game Day app.
When your employer gives you a choice of health plans, choose UPMC Health Plan. You'll have access to the best doctors and hospitals, including the top-ranked care of UPMC and many community hospitals near you. UPMC Health Plan gives you an award-winning healthcare concierge team and a partner who puts you and your health at the center of all we do. Choose what's best. Choose UPMC Health Plan. Visit upmchealthplan.com/best for more information.
Many Pittsburgh area families are struggling to afford basic gas, water, and electric services, but you can help your neighbors in need by supporting Dollar Energy Fund. Find out how a small contribution can have a big impact. Visit dollarenergy.org today. Well, as promised, we have the boss, the Vice President and Director of Athletics here at Robert Morris University. Chris King is here with us today. Chris, great to have you aboard. It's a stormy week here on campus, which means a couple of things got washed out.
Well, I'll tell you this, based on my allergies and how I feel all week, because I get allergies really bad when it's pollen season, I hope it pours and pours and pours, and I hope that pollen goes away.
Well, right now at the time of this taping, it is ready to come down, so hopefully that will help in the long run, no question about it. Let's talk about the campus here at Robert Morris University. I know you came here as an undergrad back in the 90s. Tell us your version
of the evolution of this campus, how it's changed from the time that you were a student here until now that you're the AD.
Yeah, well, I got here in 1993. I was here for 4 semesters in the summer, and I had to finish up the sport management degree and the business administration degree. And so when I got here, there was no football stadium. Joe Walton Stadium didn't exist. Of course, UPMC Event Center just opened, 2 years ago, and so it was a dramatically different campus than what it is today. I mean, very vibrant. A lot more academic buildings, today than what it was whenever I was a student. But it's the same feel. It's still the same hills that we had to climb and walk as students. But the uniqueness of the smaller classes with the faculty to student ratio hasn't changed since the time when I was a student here. And to be honest with you, it still was a beautiful campus then, still a beautiful campus today.
Is parking better now?
Parking is much better, especially when you're the athletic director.
Sure, absolutely. I'm sure you have one of those spaces out there. Well, let's talk about that too. Let's talk about going from a student to a member of the administration, one of the top key people in the administration, and what that evolution is.
Yeah, I was an intern. I was here for 3 semesters. I worked in the athletics compliance office with a fellow named Tom Olson, and learned quite a bit. And it was relatively, whenever compliance was relatively new, with a new NCAA, clearinghouse, and so I've got a ton of great experience as an undergrad, which led me on to my grad degree. But I'll tell you, when I came back and I stood at the podium, being announced as the next athletic director, that's when it kind of hit me. Because again, I mean, it's a campus where you graduated from, you're an alum, and you just don't see that very often in college athletics, where you get a chance to come back and, in a significant leadership role for your alma mater. And it was a pretty surreal moment, and I think I said something to that effect at the podium whenever I was being introduced. And it's one of those things where, again, as an alum, it's just a special appreciation, to have this opportunity.
What about being a Pittsburgher and a Western Pennsylvania?
Oh, no, that trumps it all. Yeah. I grew up in a small town about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh, a town called Apollo. It's 1,800 people, and it's very blue collar. Most of my best buddies are still my best buddies. They still live there. Their parents took care of me when my mom had to work 2 jobs, and so really learned about being, even though it's outside of Pittsburgh, but being a Yinzer, blue collar, work hard, work ethic, dedicated, and it really kind of propelled me onto college and into my career eventually. And so I'm a very, very proud Pittsburgher, and I say it's the best city in the entire country, without a doubt.
Vice President and Athletic Director Chris King is here on the Bobby Moe Show. It was not a straight line from Robert Morris back to Robert Morris, though. You kind of zigzagged around some big-time programs, and even headed up a program on your own before you got here.
Yeah, I started my career as a grad assistant at Campbell University in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. You drive into town, and 2 seconds later, you drive right back out. Yeah, but yeah, it was great. I got 2 years experience there. And then my first job actually was with Kim Graham, who's my deputy athletic director. He was the athletic director at Liberty University, and I was there for 2.5 years as a director of compliance and special events. Then I had a really great opportunity to be an assistant athletic director at University of Central Florida, UCF. Steve Sloan was the athletic director. He was an All-American quarterback at Alabama. He was roommates with Joe Namath for 3 years, and his job was to keep him out of trouble, per Coach Bryant.
He didn't do that well, though.
No, he didn't. And but he did become an All-American quarterback in his 1 year. He got to play, and he'd been a head coach, and I think Vanderbilt, Duke, and Texas Tech in his career, and then he went into the athletic director route. And to learn from someone like Steve Sloan, I mean, just an incredibly good human being at such an early age. He was extremely good at golf, and because of that, I got a lot of great experience because he wasn't in the office quite as much. But because of that relationship with him, then of course the University of Alabama had an opportunity, and he was very close with the athletic director Mal Moore. They had played football together, and it's too long of a story to tell on this podcast, but someday it's a great story. You and I need to get on the radio and tell it. But being able to get an opportunity to work as an associate AD at the University of Alabama was tremendous. I was 29 years old. I was really young. And most of the senior administrators had been there 25, 30 years, and I was this young punk from the north, that had his northern accent. But to work for someone like Mal Moore for 7.5 years, going through some bad times at Alabama until, of course, we had the intelligence to hire a guy named Nick Saban. And of course, helps, the history's kind of gone from there. But the political IQ, and the emotional intelligence that you gain from working at an SEC institution at a relatively young age was very fortunate for me, and it propelled me into an athletic director's job. At the time, it was called University of Texas Pan American down in South Texas. So we kind of say it's more like North Mexico. But it was 10 great years as athletic director. It ended up becoming a national 4-year institution when it merged with 2 other institutions, and now it's called University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. They're in the WAC conference. And what we did there, I probably in my career will probably have no doubt there's probably nothing in my career I can do is probably as big as what we did, myself, the head coaches, the senior staff, and really putting that program into, where it was not a good Division I program, and where now it's well respected in the state of Texas and out in the West region. So 10 great years. We had a condo on South Padre Island. Wow. It was a really great experience. And, at the time I was 35 years old as a young AD. Yeah. I couldn't ask for a better first athletic director job that allowed me, as the second job here at my alma mater, really kind of step in and do some really great things.
How close to the border were you?
Oh, we were like 20 minutes from the border.
Yeah.
But, it was safe. I got 2 beautiful young daughters. I wouldn't have lived there if I thought it was not safe. I mean, the Border Patrol on our side, of the United States country there's a lot. And so there's never one time that I ever feel was safe. I mean, the community was just tremendous. It looked a lot more like Fort Lauderdale than what you would consider, maybe like South Texas, where it's a lot of ranch and a lot of land. But it was a beautiful part of the country, and just, tremendous culture and people. Loved it. Loved all 10 years.
So you went from salsa to pierogies.
Oh, I will say this.
Texas to Pittsburgh.
I miss pierogies, but I do miss real Mexican
food.
Salsa. Yes, yeah, it was tremendous. And, it's funny, I gained weight when I got there. Then I lost weight, and I came back here, and I gained it back. So I think the pierogies outweigh the Mexican.
What's fun for you when you're not on campus?
Well, I don't know if there's that much time when that actually happens. But, I love spending time with my daughters. I miss out a lot on, them growing up, because it just, when you're an athletic director, and anyone in college athletics for that matter, you miss out a lot on your kids, and, they grow up and their activities and sports and things like that. But I love to golf. If I didn't have the back issue, I'd love to golf with a nice, much lower handicap. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, I spend an awful lot of my life, in this role as athletic director. And, some people have a lot of hobbies. This is kind of my hobby. It's my career. It's my profession. It's my passion. And I really enjoy, and again, I do it for the coaches and the student athletes. And so I may be kind of a boring person, because my profession kind of is part of my personal life as well.
What's the most fun on campus?
Most fun on campus? I'm just going to say any athletics event, period. Sure. Hopefully that we've done a pretty good job in the last couple of years of doing a good job with student engagement and fan experience. And we've got a very talented external staff, and we got a lot of great things hopefully lined up next year when our teams get back on the courts and gridiron and playing fields.
Chris King is the Vice President and Director of Athletics here at Robert Morris University, his alma mater. I'm wondering, a lot of ADs move up from the coaching ranks into the top of the athletic department. Have you ever coached a sport?
I coached for about 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and it was back when I was here at Robert Morris. I was an intern AAU team, and I probably was much better in administration than I was coaching. I don't have a great deal of patience, and so I tip my hat to Coach Toole and Coach Clark and the rest of our coaches. They do a tremendous job with those young men and young women, but I'm probably much better on the side of the administration.
What drove you into administration in the first place? Was it something you thought of when you were a high school athlete, or is it something that you didn't think of until you got to college?
Well, it's ironic. I started at Barron College, Penn State Barron, played basketball, and I was in engineering. And, back then, just when it took 10 minutes for a computer to boot up. Mm-hmm. And so really, trying to do a lot of the engineering work with computers back then, and, and trying to play basketball at the same time, it didn't work. I ended up, going into a different major, and then ended up quitting basketball as well. But I think once I got out of the engineering and I decided, what do I want to do with my career and my life? And I was very passionate about athletics, and I thought I wanted to coach. I really did. And, I ended up, when I transferred in here, met just a phenomenal administrator and mentor, Susan Hoffaker, who was the director of the sport management program. And, I was a little bit of a smart aleck, a little brash, and, she saw something in me that I didn't see. She stuck with me. I ended up doing 3 internships, and I really loved the athletic administrative side. And there was an AD here that not a lot of people liked, Bob McBee, rest his soul. But I loved him. He was great with me. He liked me for whatever reason and saw something in me as well. And so I just had some really good mentors at a young age that really kind of, again, they helped that passion, by giving me responsibilities and projects, and that maybe someone that's an intern that normally wouldn't have that opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a crazy question. If one of your coaches called and said, hey, I'm not feeling well, you need to coach my team today, which sport would you prefer that to be? Which coach?
Softball.
Softball for sure?
Yeah, I played travel softball for years. If I didn't hurt my back, I had a challenge with the girls. Back in the first year, no one's hit it on top of that hill before. And I just told them, I ain't picked up the bat in 4 or 5 years, but give me about 10 swings. I'll put one up there.
Man, there was no hesitation to that.
No hesitation. No. You can ask Tim Benz. Now, Tim Benz will verify it. He didn't think I was a good softball player. He got me to come out and play right before my back injury.
Okay.
And hadn't played in 4 years, picked up a bat, went 7 for 8 in a doubleheader, and he was shocked that the balls, goes like that. He's okay, you're pretty good.
All right, how's Ben's swing? Does he still have his swing?
I really, Tim's not a big burly guy.
No, he's not.
Like me.
No.
But he was good. Good ball player. He's very committed and very competitive.
I know
it doesn't always mean you're an athlete, but he did very well. I was actually impressed.
I knew that about him because I know he's a deck hockey player too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Let me ask you about the continued growth of Robert Morris University athletics. I know hockey went away. Hockey's back.
Mm-hmm.
Will we see any more changes in the near future?
I hope not.
Well,
I just want to elevate. I want to elevate the
good.
program. Yeah, and so it's been a up and down 3 years. We get here, we open up the brand new UPMC Event Center. There's all the excitement. We end up winning the NEC men's basketball tournament. We're going to win the women's basketball tournament. The pandemic hit. And then it's you lose all that revenue, and that revenue is what helps elevate your program. And so we had to kind of roll our sleeves up a little bit, and then we were able to get into the conference with the Horizon League and the Big South and some of the other conferences for some of our sports with lacrosse. That excitement level, and then the pandemic got more fierce again, and so it was a very rough second year because there's a lot of things we wanted to do that we couldn't do because of the finances. Lost a lot of revenue, a lot of COVID costs. And so, this has been a year where we put a lot of our plans in place. Next year is probably a year where we're going to start executing a lot of that.
Sure.
It's been a long 3 years. And so we do have a lot of plans, and relaunching hockey next year is going to be a big part of it. There's some things we think we can pull off, in the community that would really kind of launch hockey to another level, even more success than what maybe they've had before. But again, I think that, we've got the core group. It's the third year in the Horizon League, third year in the Big South. When I was at UTRGV, we went in a WAC conference, and I had to tell our coaches year 4 is the year. It's going to take a little while. And then by the time, year 5 hit, I was leaving. We ended up number 2 in the Commissioner's Cup, an overall competitive success. So, next year is the year where I think you're going to see a lot of our sports move up into the upper half. There'll be some that will be competing for conference championships faster than a few others, but we've got a great group of head coaches, very dedicated athletes. We've got great facilities, and what we just have to do is we've got to put the finances and the revenue generation behind it. We've got some facility plans, for Joe Walton Stadium, maybe an academic center. I want to do some renovations with softball, which is drastically needed. Some locker room renovations we want to do. Get a video board for Joe Walton Stadium. Wow. Just a few things. I can keep going if you want me, Chris. We got all kinds of plans.
I'm sitting here thinking, we're almost out of time. Dylan Thompson's giving me the high sign here as far as our, production time is concerned. But we need to continue this conversation. Why isn't there a Bobby Moe Show, Chris King podcast? There needs to be one.
Because it's about our student athletes and our coaches. And the best ADs, I think, are the ones that are behind the scenes, but they're the face of the program when they need to be, and that's usually when they're in front of the donors asking for the funds and resources so the coaches and student athletes can be the face of the program, win championships, all that good stuff.
Yeah, but we can do both, right?
We can, yeah, absolutely.
It's something to talk about.
Hey, we can get one of these corporate sponsors to throw out a nice big check. We could have a Bobby Moe, Chris King, Chris Shevlin show.
Are you listening out there, corporate sponsors? I hope you are. I have one more thought before we go because we are running out of time, Chris. I don't know if there's ever been a time at Robert Morris University when so many teams have played in so many different conferences. That has to be a challenge in and of itself.
Years ago, the purpose of them bringing the teams they brought in was unique because of enrollment, high rosters.
Right.
But what's difficult in today's day and age is having all those team sports, right? Because there is a financial, we have to be able to finance and the high expenses for some of the teams, and so it is unique. And the only conferences really that offer the complement of sports we have is like the Big Ten or the Ivy League or Patriot League. Yeah. And we're probably not going to be members of the Big Ten or the Ivy League anytime soon.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
So, it is going to be unique, where, again, we do have a really cool complement of sports. Mm-hmm. But to get them all underneath one umbrella and one membership and one conference is really, really tough and probably impractical at this point. But the great thing is that, our brand is out there in a lot of different parts of the country with different conferences. Like women's lacrosse. They're playing in the Mid-American Conference. The Mid-American Conference. It's a very highly,
it's really, really good. Yeah.
Conference. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no question about it. It's just being in one conference for everything, I think, is a thing of the past, particularly at this level.
Yeah, again, I think if you can be in one conference with all your sports, it's fantastic.
Yeah, you're going to be.
It just is.
You're going to be.
But in this day and age, I think when you see, additional sports programs being added or discontinued, for that matter, you're probably going to see, associate members from different conferences, probably quite a bit more as we move forward.
Chris, I'm serious when I say we need to do this again. We need to do it more often. Who knows, on a continual basis. Like you said, corporate sponsors, hey, if you have an interest in it, maybe the Chris King, Bobby Moe Show podcast, we can have one for the athletes, one for you, and just catch up because there's so many more things we need to talk about.
Well, I would like to end with definitely want to thank Dollar Energy Fund.
Absolutely.
As our main sponsor, and also P3R as a sponsor of the Bobby Moe Show. And I want to thank you. For 35, I think almost 36 years, you've been the voice of the Colonials. He's going to be in either 36 or 37 coming up here in the fall, and you do a tremendous job. We are fortunate to have you with the play-by-play with our football and basketball programs, and so a lot of athletic directors would be awful jealous because again, having someone with you with your talent is just tremendous. So
I
thank you for everything
that,
you do.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to take a time out. We'll catch up with the rest of the Colonial Athletic program still playing here in the spring right after this.
This winter, many families in our area are struggling to make ends meet and keep their homes warm. You can make a difference by making a donation to Dollar Energy Fund. Your contribution will be matched dollar for dollar by Dollar Energy Fund's utility partners, and 100% of all donations will be used to help local families maintain or restore basic utility services. No one should have to face a Pittsburgh winter in the cold. Help spread the warmth to your neighbors in need and donate today at dollarenergy.org.
For nearly 4 decades, Dollar Energy Fund has been providing utility assistance to local families in need. Now, when you support Dollar Energy Fund, you help your neighbors maintain safe gas, water, and electric services. Visit dollarenergy.org to donate today. All right, let's get caught up on the Colonial sports teams playing during the spring season. First of all, softball went 2-1 versus Oakland last season. They'll be hosting Youngstown State Friday and a doubleheader on Saturday. So 3 games against the YSU Penguins. Friday, a single game. Saturday, a doubleheader in women's softball. Men's lacrosse, they beat Cleveland State last Saturday. Today at 5, they'll take on Air Force. And, of course, that will be a semifinal match in the A-Sun tournament. Women's lacrosse fell to Youngstown State last week. Today at 4 o'clock, they will play YSU. Women's track and field is at the Horizon League Conference Track and Field Championships. That meet will take place over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this coming weekend. Rowing, they'll be on the rivers here in Pittsburgh, hosting Duquesne on Sunday. And we want to thank you for tuning in. This the final podcast of the season on the Bobby Moe Show. Dylan Thompson's been our producer all season long. Thanks to Dylan for a great job. Thanks to you for tuning in to the Bobby Moe Show podcast right here on the RMU Athletics Game Day app presented by Dollar Energy Fund.